Welcome to the Glamping Guy Podcast, Episode 6.
We're very blessed with a beautiful piece of property, much like probably a lot of you. You've got a piece of property in the family or you live on it, and you almost feel selfish hoarding it all to yourself.
Here we are, my glamping friends, at Episode 6 of the Glamping Guy Podcast, and I'm going to sort of steer away from the regular program and share a bit with you from the Glamping Guy's kickoff talk at the American Glamping Association's Glamping Show Americas, which took place last week in Denver, Colorado. Now, while there are a lot of shows out there targeting, outdoor hospitality, the camping world, real estate, short-term rentals, there are only 2 expos in the entire world specifically for glamping. And that's one in the UK and one just an hour north of Monument Glamping. And there were record numbers of people there this year. Thousands of visitors and hundreds vendors, all there with their displays and information for glamping hosts out there like you and me. And frankly, the Glamping Show never fails to deliver with packed educational material and majestic displays. It really places glamping owners like you and me to really place their feet firmly on the ground in their glamping ambitions and get their glamping dreams off the ground and into reality. Now, I was so privileged and quite honored to be positioned to kick off the expo at the American Glamping Association stage in the center of the expo. And it makes sense, really, because my story is really the avatar of the American Glamping Association itself. I mean, it's true, I'm a landowner here in the U.S. who welcomes guests on my private property, and I look to the association to help guide me, just like I am the glamping guy who's helping guide you into developing safe, legal, and profitable glamping operations on our private properties. Now, be warned, the audio is not the greatest, not like this audio is in a controlled studio environment like this one with this, nice mic. But do your best to truly listen to my story because I believe it's really inspiring, if I do say so myself, to the regular Joe out there like me, who wants to dive into the world of glamping, learn what they need to know, get their feet wet into this wonderful world of outdoor hospitality. My story is true. It's honest. It's raw. And hopefully it encourages you, a landowner who wants a piece of the glamping action. Stick around to the end. I take several questions from AGA conference goers. These are real landowners who are likewise, like you, wanting a piece of the action, and they're asking genuine questions, and I do my best to answer them. So, without further ado, here's me at the American Glamping Association's Glamping Show Americas, October 1st, 2024, sharing my glamping story with you.
My name is Chris Jeub. I'm the Glamping Guy online. How many of you have seen my Glamping Guy YouTube material? Or, look at all those hands go up. Boy, oh boy, look at that popularity out there. I really, thank you, one hand. The Glamping Guy is something I've been doing for about a year, and I really enjoy teaching other people how to do glamping operations. But really what I'm going to do here on the stage is tell my story. Because the story started about 5 or 6 years ago in the glamping world. I actually about just an hour away from here. In fact, one of my students is staying on my property, and from Tennessee, there he is. He's actually staying in one of my units. I'm going to tell you this story, and then I'm also going to give you some calls to action, some things to capitalize on here at the Glamping Show, as well as things online and how to really start your operation yourself. Before I begin my story, let me see a show of hands. How many of you are, as opposed to non-private land, are actually starting an operation or getting ready to start an operation on your private property? You're my peeps. That's really what I'm about. What Glamping Guy is about is I help landowners develop safe, legal, and profitable glamping operations on private property, because that's how I started. In 2019, my wife and I, we had been living on our property for 19 years in Monument, Colorado, and we decided to remodel our bedroom. Okay, I was a teacher at a public school, so I didn't make a lot of money, so we bought a fixer-upper in 2000. It was a great time to buy. and we ended up putting instead of living in our bedroom or in a living room for a month while the bedroom remodel was going on, I built a platform in my backyard and stuck my hunting tent up on it and moved our master bedroom outdoors. Loved it. It was awesome. The kids were inside. We were outside. We live on a beautiful piece of property. It's very nice 6.5 acres with a creek flowing through it. So lots of waterfowl and deer come through. We're very blessed with a beautiful piece of property, much like probably a lot of you. You've got a piece of property in the family or you live on it and you almost feel selfish hoarding it all to yourself. Okay. So after the end of the month of remodeling, we moved back inside, but we decided to put the tent up on Airbnb just to see what would happen. And we booked out the rest of the summer. Couldn't believe it. I didn't even know glamping was a thing at the time. 2019, it was too foreign of a word. It only became a dictionary term in 2016, so it was only a few years old. Heck, we still run into people who don't know what glamping is. I mean, it's like you say glamping, they look at you like you're weird. You don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, we booked out the rest of the summer. I made $1,800 on my camping gear that was sitting in my storage unit for the whole year until I went hunting every year. So I really thought I made off like a thief. So that year went by. I went back to teaching and everything. The year after that, the next summer, we decided to put up a second tent. Now, this is the COVID year. This is 2020. So maybe I thought this might be a fad. But we ended up booking out in 2 tents, and I made $18,000. Now we're talking a little side hustle here. And we were having a ball, too, by the way. Wendy and I, Wendy will be here tomorrow, but we really enjoyed having people on our property. We discovered the gift of hospitality. Hospitality is really a key component of any glamping operation. That's the absolute truth. And we were made for it. We loved it. We loved hosting people from all over the country, but also staycationers from Denver and Colorado Springs who might just be busting out of their apartment. And some of our favorite guests that we've had have been people just like the single dad who has custody of his kids for the weekend. Boom, they go glamping. We just had a couple with 3 kids. They had to stuff into one of our safari tents because they're really made for just a couple. But boy, they had a blast this last weekend. So I could go on and on about the stories of people who really are enjoying our property. We live up in the house and we take care of them. We answer the calls if they need more propane or something like that. But for the most part, they just come to the property and have a ball on our creek and on our zip line and things like that. They just have a good time on our property. But anyway, back to the story. So we're into year 2. I have 2 tents. Now it's turning into somewhat of a side hustle. The next year we pull out all the plugs. Oh, my neighbors wanted a piece of the action too. One of my neighbors, I partnered with her, and we kind of, I won't go into the details, but we partnered with her and kind of put some stuff on her property. And we ended up having 3 container homes and 3 tents in the summer of 2021. And we made $90,000. And I'm still a teacher. I'm a teacher. I had a business. I had another business on the side that was publishing curriculum. I mean, this just kind of blew the lid off for us. And then we decided to get very, very serious, moving into 2022, plans galore. And then we started getting into trouble. Because not all my neighbors wanted a piece of the action. They wanted to shut down the action. And I had a neighbor who was really calling every entity under the sun.
Time for a glamping glamercial. I hope you're enjoying the show, but if you really want to go deeper and answer questions specifically to your private property, have I got a course for you. It's called Easy Entry to a Glamping Business. In just 4 video releases, you will learn everything there is to know about a glamping business. I mean, everything. Financing, zoning, permitting, structures, ROIs, OTAs, ADUs, ADRs, all sorts of acronyms that really smart glamping guys tend to throw around. It may be overwhelming to the beginner, but it's easy for those of you taking my course, Easy Entry to a Glamping Business. But I only teach this course once per year. That's right, once. It's because I'm running a glamping operation and making a bunch of money hosting people on my property, so I don't have time to do it more than that. So get on the list. Go to glampingguy.com/easy and get registered today. And did I mention the class is free? That's right, free. And better yet, you get my undivided attention during the video releases where I can help you specifically answering questions for you on your private property. Consider this simple sign up worth thousands in consultation, all for free. And I apologize if you're getting this offer after the ship has gone by, but get on the waiting list because it'll pop up again and you'll be on. So go to glampingguy.com/easy and I'll see you in class, my friend.
She started with the sheriff's department. Gosh, the sheriff showed up and said, "Hey, what you got going here?" The sheriff sided with me. he schooled the neighbor saying, he's doing nothing criminal over there, and then the building department and the health department and the zoning department and the list goes on. She was really trying all she could to shut my glamping operation down, and she was one of those. The advantage to me is that she was very alone. She was kind of a hermit type, and that was an advantage to me getting started. However, what I was schooled in was really getting legitimate and getting things established as a business. Started to maybe grow up and start taking my glamping operation seriously, like a good business person would. And if anything, about that the glamping operation, the glamping show, if I were to say they preach anything, is to do just that. Legitimize your business, make this glamping operation into a business, even if it's a small business. If it's one ADU in your backyard, it's still treat it like a business, because then that will help legitimize the entire industry. And that's what I was learning in 2001 and 2021 and 2022. So 2022, the next stage of my journey was actually getting that what's called a special use permit for my county. We live in unincorporated El Paso County, down by Colorado Springs, and even the word unincorporated makes it sound like leave me alone. It's like it's just out there in the boonies, but we weren't down in the boonies. We're in a rural residential area. I have one of the larger acreages in the area. My neighbor even has a bigger one. But long story short, I got that what's called a recreation camp permit. So I'm allowed to have tents on my property and rent them out, and continue with the business. The story gets that year. That was 2022. Even with the trials of my neighbor and having to deal with the county and the building department and the health department, those were actually the three big ones. Some other entities were like the Fish and Wildlife, and there were a few others that the fire department, they were kind of easy, low hanging fruit. They were actually just kind of worked through. But those departments, the other departments, health, building, and zoning, were the three that I really needed to get on my side, if you know what I mean, and getting to know the enforcement officers and getting to know the planners, getting to know those people who were saying, hey, they actually liked what I'm doing. They still do. They want to encourage me to keep going. Just do it within their code. But even so, even all that stuff and we did shut some things down. We were kind of afraid that we would get shut down, but I voluntarily shut some things down. We still made $130,000 that season, and that was that. So that just was the encouragement to keep on going. 2023 is when we really blew the lid off it. We got into a contract with a second property. We opened up a few more units. We had about 12 units running through that year. And we just cleared $250,000 in 2023, and that now I'm in. You don't have to persuade me to leave teaching, or I'm still a teacher. I still teach classes and things like that, but I'm teaching into you to glamping people, like homeowners who want to do what I'm doing. This last year, just to kind of finish up the story before I get to those calls of action that I'm talking about. This last year was really good. Oh man, what a growing year as far as permitting goes, and really establishing myself in the area of Monument, Colorado, northern El Paso County. I am known as the glamping guy in the area. We've been featured on the local news local news, the magazines, newspapers, and things like that. Very, very popular in the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce loves glamping. If you're bringing a glamping operation, I suggest you get involved with the local media and the local business groups because they become your cheerleaders locally. And because I did have a neighborhood uprising, that one neighbor who was the hermit type who gave me problems from the beginning, she ended up sending about 200 letters out to my whole subdivision, telling them that my glamping operation was going to ruin our neighborhood. Wow, that was significant. And then I got to know neighbors I didn't even know from lived a mile away, and they were all up in arms about my glamping operation. Well, the way that story turned out, and I had already had Glamping Guy running, so when I really journaled I started journaling all that on YouTube. You can check that out. Go to YouTube and go to my glamping website. I've got a whole bunch of videos about that particular conflict. It turned out to be great because we oh gosh, this is my son Micah right here. He's actually a partner in the business right now, and he ended up purchasing that second property with his wife Kaya, and we ended up getting permitted over there with no community opposition. A smaller piece of property, 6 acres. And now he's licensed to build his glamping operation, will be part of Monument Glamping, for 24 units. That rocks. And that was done administratively. We didn't have to go to a public hearing. And all of his neighbors are encouraging it. So it's like across town, on my side of town, I had a next door neighbor who was really trying to rile things up, and I had some neighbors who were really trying to take it down. And I ended up I was originally permitted for 8 units on the property. That's what I have on there right now. But now I've gotten up to 12 units on the property. 7 of them can be hard-sided structures. And his 24 units can be anything we want. It really is amazing how much of an influence our neighbors had on limiting my property, and how much the neighbors, if you can get I don't know, the lesson learned, get your neighbors on your side. That's what I ended up doing. It's actually quite dramatic on YouTube. If you end up watching it, I have the whole thing published. You can actually watch the public hearings. There was a commissioners, the planning commission meeting, which really they had no power, but they just yelled at me, and it was and the neighbors were really they really thought they won, and I ended up losing 7-2 for the upgrade to my special use. So I was going from 8 to 12, as well as the ability to change some of the structures up from 10s to make a long. That was pretty much it. So I was kind of defeated. My next door neighbor, who really wanted me out of the neighborhood, thought she won. But then we went to the actual commissioners, the Board of County Commissioners, the ones that are voted in, they're elected officials. And by then I started rallying support too, and started calling all the neighbors who were in support of the glamping operation, and they all showed up at the meeting. The whole meeting was different. It totally changed. And we got our special use permit by a vote of 3-1 by the Board of County Commissioners. And now I'm legal beagle again, and I'm looking forward to building 12 units and fleshing that out. So in a way, I did just clear $200,000 this year, so I'm not blowing the lid off like I was doing all those 5 consecutive years. But this last year, I've been doing 2 things. One is really solidifying our permits on 2 properties. We had to take a few units down and things like that to make it work. But then also really building up Glamping Guy and trying to help other landowners do just what I'm doing. I believe we're really bringing a lot of joy into people's lives. Like I mentioned, some of the guests, I could go on and on. I could fill the whole time talking about how awesome it is when you finally get that person. I think I asked for a show of hands, how many people are actually doing something, and then the comparison of the people who are planning on doing something. I think I saw 3 hands up and then about 30 hands up in comparison. So you guys are in planning mode. You're here for the American Glamping Association because you're consuming the information so that you can get to that point. Once you're at that point, I can tell you, it is awesome. It is a great feeling to bring people onto your property and host them and give them the time of their lives. I've seen proposals. I almost walked in on one. It's just right after he had just proposed on the deck of one of my tents. I've seen people anniversaries. That's where the romantic stuff is really. There's a lot of love going on in Monument Glamping. It's really fun. In fact, one of my favorite. We have this guest book out, and in the end, we have these signatures where they can write their experience at Monument Glamping. And one of my favorites is this. Thank you so much for the stay and everything. My wife fell in love with me again. Isn't that beautiful? It was and he ordered the romantic surprise. We put the roses and a bottle of wine out for him. So it was really very, very nice. We do that a lot for people. But for this one, it was, I don't know what the story was. Who knows what the story was? But he found it significant enough to leave that kind of note in our guest book. Okay, 3 calls to action. Actually, more than 3. But and then I'll open it up to some questions if you guys have some questions for me. Because hey, let me tell you, I'm walking the walk. I'm really not, selling a tent or something. I'm really a developer of a glamping operation who's doing it right now. We've got people staying on the property this week, and it's So there you go. Take my card. My son has a bunch of cards, and he's passing them out. Are you passing them out? So
I will now.
Yeah. Mike is going to come and pass them out. I've got a QR code on there. I also have on there, you'll see it, the brand new cards. I'm really proud of them, actually.
Good, I'm glad. They're really nice.
The front is a picture of me. It's kind of my photo that I use. But then it says, "Your land is gold." I'm going to be explaining that at the white duck tents. Are the white duck tents over here this year? I don't know where they are this year, but the white duck tents. And they, I'll be talking at 2:15 about what that really means. Your land is gold. It took me a long time to come up with that motto, but that's my motto. Your land is gold. But then I also have a subtitle that I've been using a lot. I help landowners develop safe, legal, and profitable glamping operations on their private property. Okay, sandwiched in between landowners and property. That's very significant. As well as safe, legal, and profitable. What I mean by those 3. I'll be going into those details at 2:15 over at the White Duck Tent. So that's a call to action to see you there. Another one is that there's a QR code on there. Go to my website. I have a free download called 10 Reasons Not to Be a Glamping Host. Not to be a glamping host. But I have 10 reasons not. That's a free download, and you can get that on there. Just give me your email, and then we can start a conversation and a relationship on that way. I also wanted to give you a word of encouragement to not be intimidated. Mike and I were talking about this. It's about an hour drive to my place down south. Not being 5 minutes. Thank you. Not to be intimidated when you walk around and get to know other glampers. I guess I got to say that's what I found myself intimidated when I talked to someone like Open Sky. Big Doll is like crushing it out in Utah. Beautiful place, 5 stars, $5 billion a night. It's just wonderful. Mine's not that way. I mean, there's some roughing it a little bit. But then there's other people who are really roughing it. I mean, I've got Greg staying at my place. We were talking last night. He doesn't provide linens to his place out in Tennessee. So it was like, oh, well, he's looking up to me, and I'm looking up to Big Doll, and we're all on this journey, and we're all on this journey, and I want to get to know where you're at. So just don't be intimidated at all. Also, lastly, before I open it up to a question, become an AGA member. One of the best things that I did was become an AGA member, American Glamping Association. Start attending those conferences, this conference obviously, but some of the networking that goes on, and what Ruben leads in the every month. I look forward to it all the time. And I just get to know people who are in the same boat as I am, and that's what you got to do. Spend the whatever it is to become a member and do it. So, all right, I got about 5 minutes for some questions. Yes, sir, back there, real loud. Question is, am I able to help people get permits? Yes, I am. In fact, that's what Glamping Guy is. So I have a course. That's another call to action. I have a course that's for free on the 21st. called Easy Entry to the World of Glamping, or Easy Entry to a Glamping Business. And that is available at my website. So go to that, because we do cover permitting. Permitting is, in fact, the speech that we just heard inside talked about permitting as the number 2 reason people don't get involved with glamping. I see everything as permittable. That's kind of my clarion call of hope, that even when I even had planners tell me no, and then I figure out how to do it, and then they say yes. So there's a lot of, that should give a lot of people hope. Yeah. Am I open year round, and what do I do for bathrooms? More than half my units are open year round. Okay, so we do close. We're at a creek, so we have a floodplain there, and that we shut down for the winter. Here, the climate melts and snows all winter long, so we're able to keep things open that normally northern climates wouldn't be able to. And what we do for bathrooms, I do have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 units who have their own bathrooms, flushing toilet kind of bathrooms, and the rest of my 8 units have, so the other half have Davis tent privacy tents. They have a really nice 4.5 by 4.5 privacy tent, not the cheap ones you buy on Amazon, and they last quite a few years. And then Cabela's camping toilet inside, and they dispose their own things in bags like a dog, and that is just fine with the health department, as long as my septic tank provides for the number of heads on beds. They're fine with that. Any other questions? Back. Unit density? Yeah, I have 6.5 acres with 8 units on it right now, and 12 units are licensed. So I've permitted for 12. So we're going to build 4 more. They're, I don't know, the closest ones are maybe 120 feet apart. So they have a good distance. I mean, there's not a campground, so it's not like sandwiched together like sardines. So that to me is comfortable. I rarely get a complaint that someone says that we're too close. The complaint really is that there's houses that are all around me. We're in rural residential property, we border the town of Monument. So there's just this 2 years ago, we just got a whole line of houses that are looking down on my glamping property. I'm not too thrilled about, but that actually I've been leveraging that to be an advantage. We're only 1.5 miles from the interstate, and I'm hitting those road trippers that Scott started off talking about. Road tripping is a big deal. And I'm trying to pull them in. People like to be close enough to society, not necessarily out in the boonies. So that's my differentiation marketing that I'm doing. Yes. How long did it take me to get my special use permit? My first one took me about 6 months. This last one that I got took me about a year. So that the planners are catching on to what I was doing. At first, I was like, I had to educate them more than the vice versa. In fact, I don't think they ever educate me. I have to figure it out myself. But that's typically how long it took me to get that second permit. Yes. Booking software. It's called a PMS, a property management software. I use IGMS. And if you go to glampingguy.com/IGMS, I've got some stuff on there about that. But there's a lot of good ones out there. I'm thinking of changing. So IGMS says it's kind of buggy. It does the work, it does the job, but I used to be an internet developer, so I can kind of work around the hacks. I can hack it. So I don't know if that's necessarily an endorsement for IGMS, but the idea having a PMS though, that's definitely, especially if you want to do more than one OTA, which is online travel agent. More than one OTA, you just do 2 OTAs and you're already overwhelmed. So I know some people just stick with one OTA just because of that, but get a PMS, everything goes. And then IGMS gives you the kind of biggest bang for your buck, but you got to be able to tolerate some hacking. Any others? Yeah. Do I have an HOA? No, I don't. I do have, though, and this came up in my last public hearing, I do have a, what do they call it? It's like I have a document that was written in 1957 in my neighborhood. And we're out in corporate El Paso County, so we're out in the country, supposedly, kind of. And one of my neighbors dug this up. It was related to our title commitments, and we didn't know it was there. And this old ordinance, is that what it's called? I can't. Yeah. Ordinance? No, ordinance. Yeah. And it said no tents allowed. And they were like, They thought that was the silver bullet, baby. And this is going to bring camping down. The glamping's no more in the neighborhood. And I actually was sweating the first time I saw it. And I ended up talking to my lawyer. I lawyer up, just like the big developers do. I lawyer up. And I talked to my lawyer, and he kind of laughed at it. And he said, these things are spread all over Colorado. And the county does not, and they even have posters in their office saying, we do not enforce ordinances. And so we got through with that. And they made it their biggest deal. And that's why it meant nothing to the planning commissioners or the Board of County Commissioners. They just like rolled right off their backs, that argument. That was a good argument. It was a good argument, though. I thought I was shut down. Actually, the question about HOAs is probably the most fickle as far as getting a glamping operation in an HOA, but I know HOAs that allow it. And if you go into a meeting and try to educate the board or the elected official or the planning department or something, you go in there you're locked and loaded and ready to go because you follow Glamping Guy online. You know this stuff. They oftentimes will kind of catch the vision for it and be advocates for you. Right now we have a great building department guy who just loves what we're doing. And I can't imagine what his life is like because he's talking to big developers and skyscrapers and things like that. That's what he's more into. And these guys are putting tents up in their yard and they're renting them out. He's like, this is the coolest thing. So then get that kind of discussion on your side. You do the same thing with an HOA. In fact, I have some people, one of my students actually in Idaho, who was doing just that. So HOA doesn't mean I don't know. End of story. And that is our time.
Come get a card for sure.
Yeah, pass them out. Okay. Well, walk around. Micah will be walking around passing out cards. Thank you, everybody.
Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Actually, truthfully, my story is constantly growing, constantly evolving, and I don't think I'm slowing down anytime soon. So get subscribed to this podcast, my YouTube channel, and most importantly, my website at glampingguy.com. I still have that download that I mentioned on the stage there at the American Glamping Association. I want you to have it. And I also have course material and white papers and anything else I can muster up to help you. I am a teacher at heart, and I want to help you develop your safe, legal, and profitable glamping operations on your private property. Now, next week, we'll return to the regular Glamping Masters series, where we hear from glampers from all over the world how they do their thing. We can all learn and glean from each other in this dynamic market of glamping. So until next time, I'm Chris Jeub, the Glamping Guy, wishing you the best as you build your safe, legal, and profitable glamping operation on your private property. We'll see you next time, my friend.